I like to present the key moments of round 3, Hikaru and Nakamura with black against Grischuk with white. They reached this endgame early on, and here in the post-interview, Alexander Grischuk said he spent some time on bishop e1, because then he was planning knight a4, coming to c5. But here he didn't like knight d4. Seems like losing a piece, right? But on that, you take here, and this is about equal. So instead in this position, he went knight g5. And he wanted to go knight e4 and knight d6 with the better outpost for the knight. So let's see the game. And now the knight is on d6. Rook fd8, logical. And here, probably the best move was bishop a5. I'm wondering as well if maybe white could play bishop b4 to secure the knight. But instead, Grischuk took on b7. Okay, black takes. And now rook c7 attacks b7 and attacks e7. So here bishop c6 played and rook e7. Now that rook doesn't have a lot of squares to go to. So here bishop b6 played, and now that rook here is kind of stuck. So there are some ideas like king f8. But now that doesn't work directly. So on king f1 playing the game, you can really go king f8 because here bishop b4, and now you're threatening a check. So when you go back here, king f1 was played, but not bishop c3. That would be a mistake because here bishop d8 wins the rook for free. So we go back in king f1, and here we cannot play, let's say, king f8 as I mentioned, because the rook still has an escape. But here there was a great move played by Hikaru. He played a5, preventing this bishop b4 stuff. And now, again, he wants to win the rook, and he will win the game. And here it was a critical moment. What was white's move to save the game and save the rook on e7? Again, Grischuk was up to the task. He's one of the top grandmasters. Now, obviously, king e1 will lose on king f8. But bishop f3 is what he planned to do, he said in the interview. But then take. There is an escape square. But here, rook ab8. And then because of the a5 great move by Hikaru, now you have king f8 and king takes e7. You cannot stop that. So actually, white is lost here after rook ab8. So we just saw bishop f3 doesn't work, king e1 doesn't work, but luckily rook c1 is a great idea found by Grischuk. And here is threatening the bishop. So bishop move, but now rook c4 keeping attacking the bishop. And after this exchange, white has enough compensation for the exchange. So they continue the game. In this position, the bishop are very strong. The rook have nowhere to go. So Hikaru had enough. And he exchange, and we have a drawish position with bishop of opposite color. So rook c1 was saving the day. And as I said, bishop b4, rook c4. Luckily for Grischuk, he could find a good way to end the game. Now, on rook c1, maybe Hikaru could have taken here, and then take on d2, and on bishop f3, play rook ad8. And you have that rook on d2, really in a great spot, right, with control. So maybe this was, with the potential bishop take e3, the way to go for black, and white would have had to find the right moves here. But instead, he played bishop e4, and the game ended in a draw. I hope you enjoyed this recap. Thank you for watching.